showing us the struggle between Pharaoh and Yahweh. Okay, let's have a look now at the first three plagues. The first three plagues. Now, just before we enter those, the Pharaoh invites Moses to give his credentials. Give me a sign, he says. Isn't that wonderful? There's going to be a little sign of the staff being turned into a snake or serpent. But there's going to be bigger signs that Yahweh is going to do. Now, the extraordinary little thing is that the magicians also perform this particular miracle. But the great thing is, it's Moses' staff that gobbles up all the magicians' staffs. So telling us, really, that eventually Moses is going to win. Swallowed up, gobbled up. It's a little bit foreshadowing, that word, of what's going to happen to the Egyptians in the sea. They're going to be swallowed up by the sea. The first plague is the plague of blood. Now, the first plague in every series begins with Moses going down in the morning to the river Nile while Pharaoh and his family are taking their morning bath in the Nile, bathing in the Nile. It's the first plague in every series of three. And so Moses goes down, and the water of the Nile is changed into blood. In the P account, which is added, a little bit of the priestly account is added to the basic structure of J. P says that Aaron stretches out his hand over the waters of Egypt. Not just the Nile, but every single piece of water turns into blood. The P account, the priestly account, tends to be much more dramatic and much more universal in scope. The Red Sea, flowing with blood, now is a little bit of a foreshadowing of what's going to happen again to the Egyptians when they drown in the Red Sea. The second plague is the plague of frogs. Now, there's a little bit of a change here in some of the chapter and verses, because the Masoretic text, which Masoretic text is the basic Hebrew text, is slightly different in its chapter, where the chapter ends, where the chapter 7 ends, from the Septuagint, the Greek Bible, where that ends. So there might be a little bit of difference depending on which translation you're looking at. Which one is following the Masoretic or Hebrew numbering of the chapter, and which is following the Septuagint numbering of the chapter. Okay, so in this, it's the frogs, and the magicians can match Moses by creating frogs too, but they can't get rid of them. And Pharaoh asks Moses, would you please get rid of the frogs? And he does, but what happens is they just die. So the land stinks. Is that a foreshadowing of the 10th plague?